As we come into John chapter 11, we find one of the most mind-blowing, undeniable miracles that Jesus performs. In fact, I would call this a trailer, like a trailer for a movie that pictures something that's going to happen when it's released. Well, this is a trailer for the end of the world. We find Jesus coming to the town of Bethany, and we see his three friends, Mary, Martha, two sisters, and their brother Lazarus. And you'll notice here that they send a message to Jesus that our brother Lazarus is sick. And in fact, they say, "He whom you love is sick." I want to slow down for a minute and just remind you, just because people face sickness, this is not, again, some sort of a judgment of God. We should not think because we're sick, God has forsaken us or doesn't care about us. Jesus loved Lazarus. This was his good friend. And yet Lazarus was sick. In fact, he was so sick, he was preparing to die. Now, it's very interesting that it says in John chapter 11, in verse 6, that he stayed for 2 days. For 2 days, they were waiting. Where is Jesus at? And, of course, during this time, Lazarus, we read, dies. This is a reminder that God sometimes doesn't answer our prayer requests the way we want. Sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no, and sometimes he says wait. But whatever he says, it's always in our best interest. Now, this pain they're going through kind of reminds me of something that the great writer C.S. Lewis said. He said, pain is God's megaphone. You know what those do, right? They amplify things to awaken, to arouse a world that's deaf and can't hear God's voice. Well, we keep reading here in John 11. And you come to verse 25, he shows up, Lazarus has died, it's the third day. God always does great things on the third day. Think the resurrection, think the end of the gospel. And Jesus says these words in verse 25, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he dies, he will live. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. And then he asks a question, do you believe this? See, what Jesus is saying is, for those who know him, for those who have been saved by him, they may die physically, but they'll never die spiritually. They live forever. If you're a Christian and you die, you don't leave the land of the living to go to the land of the dying. You leave the land of the dying here on this earth to go to the land of the living. We are safe and secure in God's hands if we die. And of course, he says that I will raise you up on the last day. There's a day coming when Jesus is going to fix this world. He's going to get rid of death forevermore. There will be no more death or sickness or suffering when he returns one day. Well, there's this really beautiful little verse in verse 35 where it says, Jesus wept. I think we often think at times of death or suffering that we're all alone. But we see Jesus' great love. He's with us in our tears. He cries with us. He cares about the hard things we face every day. Well, the chapter ends. Jesus is going to give this preview, this trailer of that final day when he fixes this world. He says, take me to the tomb. And they say, Lord, we can't open the tomb of Lazarus. He's been dead for 3 days. He stinks. This reminds us, dead people can only do one thing, and that's stink. But what is so great is Jesus cries out these words, Lazarus, come forth. One preacher once said that if Jesus did not use the word Lazarus, the name, in the front of this, all the graves of the world would have opened and all the bodies would have came out. That's going to happen one day when he returns and he fixes this world. But on this day, he just gives us a preview. And of course, this dead man comes out. He was lost, he's been found. He was dead, he's alive. What a miracle of new creation. Life to the dead. Lazarus is wrapped up in the grave clothes and he's kind of wiggling and he needs help to get out of the wrappings that he's in. Well, friends, this is very different than another resurrection that's coming in the end of the book when Jesus rises from the grave. Remember that. Hold on to that. Lazarus' resurrection is different than Jesus' resurrection. But oh, I'm so glad that one day Jesus will come back and he's going to get rid of death once and forevermore. We'll see you in chapter 12.